boiled with tangerine peel, super delicious. Promise? Cross my heart. They stopped at the very top of the coconut slope, right in the middle. It felt as if the sky was on fire. The hottest day of the summer, even the cicada noises melting away. The ocean of the world burned together, wind dancing on blue bonfires. King counted. 1, 2, 3. Close your eyes and let go of the bike seat. Xinyu rushed down like a shooting star through the sea of Mexican petunias. She had thought closing her eyes would make her miss the romantic Monet minus colored flowers, but when she shut them, the entire slope appeared clearly in her mind, gliding purely by feeling. The hillside of petunias turned into evening stars, rustling softly among the clouds. 3. Her mother called that night, demanding Xinyu return to the city early the next morning. The first typhoon alert of the summer was about to be issued, and the ferry would close if she delayed. Xinyu held Grandma's old phone. Her mother's voice was so loud even customers in the shop could hear. Xinyu hurried under the betel nut tree, surprised to find herself frowning for the first time. I'm not going back. I want to stay here with Grandma. What do you mean? Thinking you're all grown up now. I'm already 18. Wonderful. Zhang Xinyu. You're talking back now. If you're brave enough to talk back, be brave enough to get into a good university. I gave up so many chances to marry for you. And now you talk back to me? Don't come back if you won't. The phone was hung up roughly. She looked up at the betel nut tree. Youthful and green, swaying in the wind, drinking in the rain. Betel nut trees didn't cry. She thought, how I wish I could be a tree in my next life. She curled herself into the trunk until Grandma stumbled out and wiped her ears. Grandma had heard everything, but she could say nothing since her son passed away. She had no right to demand more from her former daughter minus law. Xinyu buried her face in Grandma's shoulder, soaking her clothes with tears and snot. Grandma was her betel nut tree, asking for nothing, while Xinyu wanted to give her everything. Xinyu finally packed her bag and went back to the city. Before leaving, she cleaned Grandma's house spotless. After the typhoon passed, she attended the cram school with expensive tutors her mother had hired. Xinyu sat in the last row, closed her eyes, and heard the rustling of Mexican petunias across the hillside the Chopin nocturne the fishing port had given her. She had always been told she could only have a phone in college, so she couldn't use her mother's. She borrowed a classmate's phone instead, calling Grandma, hesitating for a long time before asking for Ink's number. Grandma, I want to borrow his study materials. Yeah, the boy with the messy hair who rides a bike. You don't have it. No. I know. Next time he comes, can you write down his number for me? The second bell rang. The classmate hurried back to the room, scared of being caught by the tutor, and yanked the phone away from Xianhui's ear. She never heard Grandma's reply. Yes or no? Luckily, Grandma never turned her down. But no word came from Grandma. By late July, former classmates were buying supplies for college. When Xinyu ran into them on the street, she lowered her head and hurried past, afraid they'd ask which university she was attending. All she could stammer was retaking the exam. The air was heavy, with sudden downpours every few days. After typhoon season began, the neighborhood flooded constantly. Xinyu had to wade through water to class, her mood low. Inside the cram school, everyone felt gloomy, each with their own worries, no one asking why the others worried taking the exam. What? Yu's mother on the 6th floor saw Xianhui's bare calves and exclaimed to Zhang Xianhui's mother, asking if Xinyu had been bitten by some poisonous insect. Xinyu then noticed her skin again. The rashes lingered, fading with ointment only to break out again when the weather changed. She spoke less and less. Looking in the mirror, she saw rashes spreading all over her body. She dared not wear skirts, covering up in long sleeves and trousers even in midsummer. God forbid they spread to your face, that would ruin you, her mother said. She then asked, have you improved after over a month of cramming? Any tests? Halfway through, Xinyu burst into loud, uncontrollable sobbing. Her mother pulled a stack of test papers from her bag and laid them on the table, as if displaying her wounds. Her ranking had dropped from top 10 to 40-7 since starting the cram school. Shinyo could not study anymore. Jong's mother was baffled, feeling her obedient daughter had been stolen overnight. It all started after the fishing port trip. She had even dared to talk back on the phone. The fishing port was full of idle country boys with half-hearted studies, but hers Inyu was a top student who fought her way into Yizhan Memorial, a provincial key high school. A good daughter Shed raised with a lifetime of effort. Shed skimped on traveling and skincare, yet never denied her daughter nice things. She saw nothing wrong with herself. Shed even bought bamboo fungus costing over 300 yuan a bundle just to make soup for Xinyu, not tasting a drop herself. But forcing Xinyu to continue was useless. Her grades had plummeted. Retaking might not yield a better result. After thinking it over, Zhong's mother unwillingly bought Xinyu a new rolling suitcase and travel bag. Just in time for military training. On the eve of college, Xinyu asked to visit grandma at the fishing port one last time. Still shaken by Xiany's hysterical crying last time, her mother gritted her teeth. You can go to relax, but I'm coming with you. Xinyu fell silent immediately. The ferry tossed on the waves for half an hour before docking. The heat and seas inscus left her mother collapsed on the sofa, too weak to move. Xinyu knew her mother had come along out of distrust. She saw through her mother's thoughts like an adult seeing through a child's. At lunch, she quietly begged Grandma in the kitchen to let her help at the pier shop that afternoon. Grandma understood and successfully took Xinyu out. Her mother insisted on following downstairs at first, but a headache hit her under the glaring sun before she even left the building. Grandma said she hadn't seen the bicycle-riding boy again. Xinyu thought Grandma must be confused. Ink had promised to treat her to time-honor dread be nice on May Island, boiled with tangerine peel, creamy and soft. Refusing to give up, she started running. The fishing port lay in a long afternoon siesta, empty streets, not a single cat or dog in sight. Even the betel-nut trees stood still in the windless heat, leaves motionless. Xinyu ran until her hair stuck to her scalp, soaked as if pulled from water. She finally reached the top of the coconut slope. Ink was not there. Mexican petunias did not bloom in the afternoon. Their tiny star-shaped buds stayed closed. The little ferry was locked outside, the entire forest refusing to let it in. She sat on the breakwater until dusk, then dragged herself home. She felt wilted like a dried petunia. Lifeless. Sitting in front of Grandma's shop for a quarter of an hour, she saw several boys returning from surfing and shamelessly asked if they knew where Ink lived. They exchanged amused glances. Confused, Xinyu rambled anxiously, describing the boy who rode a bike with fuzzy hair like a Monchichi doll. He laughed. That guy's from May Island. His real name is Chen Qian. Xinyu panicked. But his name is Ink. He thought his real name was old-fashioned, so he made us call him Ink. The kid's leaving for college tomorrow. Someone immediately argued, dissonant in a few days. Ink's going with his girlfriend. They continued arguing about when Ink would leave and which university he'd attend. While Xinyu walked away silently, Zhong's mother finally relaxed after seeing Xinyu off at the high-speed rail station, thinking Xiany's summer had been full of twists but ended well. After returning from the fishing port last time, Xinyu had a severe high fever. Zhong's mother tried all kinds of prescriptions and folk remedies, and it took days for the fever to break. Once it did, the rashes miraculously disappeared. The red bumps that had covered her body came suddenly and vanished just as quickly, gone without a trace overnight. After accepting her daughter was just an ordinary girl, Zhong's mother began chatting with neighbors about Xiany's rashes. Yu's mother comforted her, saying Yu once had chickenpox covering her body overnight, leaving no marks afterward. People who had chickenpox never got it again. Hearing this, Zhong's mother suddenly remembered Xinyu had never had chickenpox, and her newly relaxed heart tightened again. Xinyu stayed at Grandma's for 2 more days, never returning to the coconut slope. She was going to college in Beijing. The high-speed rail headed north, and the farther she got from the South China Sea, the thinner the air felt. Thin enough that she had to take deep breaths by the window to stay clear-headed. After the fever, her memory declined sharply. She refused to dwell on that afternoon when Ink had wrapped his arms around her, teaching her to ride a bike step by step, refused to think of his milky scent. A sunny boy with an old-fashioned 1932's name refused to remember his promised red be nice. Rushing down the Petunia slope, his voice saying, "Don't let go." But how could she let go? A fleeting summer at 18, a boy met by the sea. Coconut tree swaying in the wind, all a phantom. The taste of reed be nice she never got to have in her life. All the grandeur and lingering affection, the sweetness and agony performed by actors without lines on a stage with no audience. Ending without applause. College life began with endless club fairs. Xinyu threw herself into various activities. Her classmates thought she didn't look like someone from a coastal city. Her skin pale and translucent. Xinyu whispered shyly that she rarely went out. "Oh, so you've never seen our famous AA beach? EB Bay and CC Sunset Boulevard," her roommate asked. Xinyu thought for a long time, then whispered even quieter, "I thought they were in the next province. Turns out they're in my hometown." The campus was enormous. The campus bus took half an hour just from the east to the west campus. By October, all the leaves had fallen, crunching softly underfoot like the soft sand of her hometown. The lecture hall was on the west campus, and she often went there for her favorite lectures. But the trees and buildings looked dull, as if painted from the same mold. Her failing memory made her get lost several times, getting off at the wrong stop and watching the bus drive away, too embarrassed to flag the driver down. Once, a popular lecture was held. Xinyu took the bus in the wrong direction again. So she called her roommate, who was having class on the west campus, to save her a seat. When Xinyu finally arrived breathless, she found a pile of textbooks from another department on her seat. Someone had taken it. Her roommate was furious when she found out via WeChat, saying she'd come to argue after class, scolding the person for being rude and telling Xinyu to check the name tag of the intruder. A folded newspaper was tucked in the textbook. Xinyu found it strangely familiar, picked it up, and saw an old local news section. An elephant named Sang Mei had rampaged at the zoo. Yuxpearings checked surveillance and found the elephant had seen a child's elephant plush toy, remembering her baby elephant that had died years ago. Elephants get lonely too, Xinyu realized, finally finishing the news. In high school, her English teacher had said an elephant never forgets. Suddenly she remembered the newspaper she'd used to cover her skirt that last summer, the wheat-skin boy who joked, "Long time no see." Grandma's turned into a young girl, her blushing cheeks and the Monet-colored flower fields. Xinyu stood in the lecture hall, speechless, her lips wet with both laughter and tears. A whole summer's memories rushed back to her eyes. The boy with Monchichi-like hair was cool, quiet, yet loved making others laugh. How would he explain searching for her for so long that she, sitting on his bike back, was the so-called girlfriend that her silliness and fear had made her take the wrong bus time and again, leaving him waiting in vain at stops? Luckily, she had a silly roommate who'd written reserved for Zhang's Innu in big, ugly characters. He stood behind her. She didn't need to turn around to smell the familiar milky scent. The boy from the sea breeze and coconut trees, opening his arms helplessly. How would he explain this long, red-bean-I summer? This time, it was no longer a cautious circling, but a tight, firm embrace, tight enough for her to hear the sound of little fairies from all over the world knocking on a door in her heart.